Hi guys, welcome back to another quick card pull. This is being filmed on Sunday, August 2nd, 2026. Happy August. Today we're pulling from the Dragon Tarot cards. First card we're starting off with Justice. So definitely like because of the unknown, because you notice like the first thing I notice is her eyes are covered. So very Two Swords energy, but it's like I feel like because you don't know the answers, but they're saying stability. I feel like overcoming what is knocking. So if there's been something that's been bothering you, I guess, or disruption. We were talking about disruption. They were saying chaos. I don't feel like it feels like chaos, but it's like, you know what I mean? It's just where I'm open to help, and I did call in help, and it's just like listening to that information. You know what I mean? Like sensible information. So I feel like overcoming that. So if you are going through something, justice will be served. Scales, things leveling out. I feel like we're going to go through a time of rest and rejuvenation before things pick up again. So like they're saying, like if there's something that's been put on pause or something, you're getting a rest and then it comes back again. Three of Pentacles, this is usually seen as a collaboration. They're showing me the Three of Pentacles from the Game of Thrones tarot cards. So this is where they're building the skeleton of a house, so maybe building a home, but also probably like laying down a foundation for something. So I feel like if it's this where you need balance restored and overcoming this, like slaying the dragon, I guess is like slaying the beast. So that's what I mean. It's like overcoming something that feels burdensome. I feel like that's where they're saying like, you know, collaboration. So threes may be significant, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. You know, I feel like Holy Trinity, but I feel like that's where it's just like calling in this like working together kind of energy. Queen of Wands. This is how you're seen. Very Egyptian energy, I feel like, with the headdress and the staff. You know, I love the fact that there's a seedling on here. So I feel like this is something that is new to you. Something new came along. And this kind of like brings me back to when Shane was here. And it's like working together to come up with a plan. So maybe this is why they're saying, like, you know, like I was saying, like calling in help. And they're just like, you know, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, whomever you believe in. And I feel like this is where it's like working together to come up with a plan, a resolution. This is where it's like, you know, it knockings of like there is, you know, things are changing. I feel like, you know, kind of like they're showing storm warning, and it's like the storm is now, you know what I mean? It's like we're picking up the pieces and we're, you know, learning what works. We have the King of Wands. So this is where it's like definitely following your intuition in this. I feel like they're showing keeping your cards close to your chest. I don't, this is not a game. This is not poker. Like, you know, life is not a game. But I feel like this is where they're saying keep this, you know, pardon me, I'm tired today. Um, Keeping everything close to your chest. I feel like little crumbs, but nothing more. Because I definitely feel like information is power, and I feel like in the wrong hands it's not a good situation, not ideal. But 10 of Cups, this is why I feel like it's like you will overcome this challenge, even you know what I mean, like they're saying like chaos or whatever, but I feel like challenge, I feel like that's what they're saying, like you are the type of like I am definitely a problem solver, and it definitely irritates me when I can't solve problems, but I am very thankful for information and downloads that come in that help me to overcome certain situations. So that's where it's like unconditional love, unconditional support. You know what I mean? And it's just like, you know, calling in those abilities. That's why I felt like with that Queen of Wand, you know, with that little seedling, that really, you know what I mean? Look how tiny that was. And it's like, you know, definitely talking about like a rebirth, or like, you know, you're open to new ideas. You know what I mean? Because that's how you're seen. Like you're definitely seen as a caregiver. You're definitely, you know, invoking like the Empress energy, you know, being empathetic. This, I feel like that's what they're saying. This needs empathy. This needs love. This needs structure. And again, with the Three of Pentacles, and they're showing like the structure of a home. You know what I mean? I feel like that's what it's like. You know, we need to bring these things in. We need to do this because, you know, there is a solution to this. It's just, you know, it's unfamiliar territory. unfamiliar, you know what I mean? So it's like getting familiar with it. So maybe when they were talking about like research and going back to school, it's like what we're doing to help us, like, skills or information, how to better the situation. Six of Cups. So definitely this is where it's like giving, pouring back into other people's cups. And I feel like, especially with the King of Cups being underneath, be careful how much you pour into other people's cups. I feel like pouring more into more than others. Theirs are overflowing. So, you know, emotional situations, but overcoming that. Even I feel like this full moon definitely felt like a new moon. Definitely felt very shadow. Like, I felt like a lot of emotions. I'm getting a lot of pictures from the summer, like this time period before that summer before Shane passed away. So you know what I mean, coming on his 10-year anniversary. So that's what I'm saying. Like, emotions that we thought have healed, and it's like it's always gonna feel something. Like this is someone that was significant to me. You know what I mean? It's not just anybody. So I feel like in certain situations, depending on the relationship, you know what I mean, or the situation in some cases, it's just like, yeah, it will trigger things, but it's just like, you're safe. With me, I'm just like, like they're saying, a better time, quote unquote. But especially when there's like knockings of things around, disruptions, I feel like it's like you kind of like wish, like in my shoes, it's like I wish he was here, like to give me information, or we would always collaborate with each other, and it's like coming up with an idea. So I feel like with the Holy Trinity is more so relying on your faith, on your belief system, on your higher self. You know what I mean? Where it's just like that's the new dynamic duo. Whereas before with them, you know what I mean? So just be kind to yourself, be gentle with yourself, but remember you gotta pull from a full cup, as like Spirit is saying, like, we feel. So anytime you get blessed, thank you for spoiling us, continue to or if you want to say you say whatever, what way that resonates. It's just like, thank you for spoiling us, please continue to spoil us, you know what I mean? It's just, and we're coming into the 88 portal too, so there's been a lot of highly charged energies, karma at play, you know what I mean? Some situations, people deal with them differently. You know what I mean? Everybody, like, that's why they say everybody's, like snowflakes. They're all individually like fingerprints. They're all unique. So King of Cups, allow the universe to pour into your cup. Definitely they're showing rest and rejuvenation, especially if your energies have been really going outward. It's like time to pull inward, pouring into your own cup, taking time for yourself. I was doing a personal reading for someone that I'm close to, and we were talking about that, take like little things that we do for ourselves. And it's like, you know um Sex in the City, where Jennifer Hudson's like, she had love on her keychain, and she's like, I'm giving myself some love every single day. And it's like, remember to do so, like, even if you can't do, like, even small things like brushing your teeth, you wake up with a migraine, or you had a bad dream. It's like you woke up in a bad mood or not fully rested, and you're like, I'm still choosing to make the most out of this day. And that's what's important. You know what I mean? You're choosing to do the best you can for the day. It may not be easy. Maybe you're just going to get through the day. It may not be, the most productive day, but you did the best you can. That's all you could do. And being kind to yourself. You know what I mean? There's a lot of a-holes that are going to sit there and try to poop on you, make situations worse. And this is where it's just like taking time for you and doing the best you can, and putting one foot in front of the other, and be like, this is just temporary how I'm feeling. You know what I mean? Try to get some restful sleep, and then take on tomorrow. That's all you can do. Do the best you can. Life does not come with a handbook. The Lover. So being pushed together. I feel like, again, like that yin and yang kind of energy, but I feel like, this doesn't necessarily, I know when we talk about the Lovers and the Two Cups, we always think it calls in romantic relationships, which it can, you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. If that's something you're calling in, I salute, I hope it all works out. I love the fact that it looks like a heart, but I feel like there's connections that we have, soulmates, quote unquote, where it's like children, best friends, fur babies. Like there's that connection you can't speak of, like where you feel like it's synchronicity or serendipitous, where it's just like, you don't, know why, but it's like you feel like you've known them before, or you just have that connection where you're all in a room and maybe you're watching something funny and you say something. And I was like, I was just thinking of that. You know what I mean? It's just like being in that energy. And I feel like that's what a lot of us, are calling in is like, we could concentrate on the chaos of the world, but it's just like we're just, working on our own little piece of heaven. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's just taking a break is what they're saying. So Nine of Swords keeping you up at night. That is over. You know what I mean? What is weighing on your mind? What is taking your energy away from you? Your peace away from you? It's like you're coming back into that. And I feel like this is very important because it's just disruption. You know what I mean? It's just like with this whole purge that happened, I felt like especially, what the norm is like that all switched and turned on its head and it's had an effect. This is the ripples of this. You know what I mean? And I feel like it's just for some people that's what they want. Oh, oh, look what's happening because I'm not look, this is very narcissist behavior. Look, I'm not around and look what's happening. Oh, I'm the glue that holds everything together, and it's like you're the toxic glue that eats everybody or gives them headaches. You know what I mean? Oh, shoot. It's like, some it may affect some ways, but you know what I mean? Pay attention to what information's coming to you as well, is what they're bringing up. So, I watch Morgan Adams, and her latest video that she just posted, this her solo video, not with her collab with who she's working with, where she's talking about the benefits of walking. If you walk for 15 minutes, 30 minutes is the most ideal. But obviously work yourself up to that. Don't think you have, out of the gate you have to walk for 30 minutes. You know what I mean? It's just like work yourself up to that, as you build up your endurance and everything, and you will get to that point. But they're saying the most beneficial is 30 minutes. If you could walk for 30 minutes, beautiful. So for us, we're used, it's very hot. You know what I mean? It's just, this is not the ideal time to be walking, but bringing that habit back in, that's why I feel like it's like the things that have been weighing on your mind are lifting. And I feel like, it's very like Ten of Swords healing, but I feel like it's just like kind of like, the Robaxin commercial for back pain, and they have the pins in the back and then they start removing the pins and you're able to stand up straight again is what they're showing. So that's what I feel like. Things that make you feel like you're toppled out, like you're defeated. Last card is High Priestess, which is very suiting. I love the fact that there's a book. So, like when, we watch Mass and, they go on the pew, not the pew, that's where you sit, where you can sit there and speak. You know what I mean? Sharing wisdom, sharing information, sharing, like, kind of like I am, sharing situations where it's just like being vulnerable is what they're saying. So I feel like, again, where it's like being vulnerable, going back to that Three of Pentacle energy, and it's like, asking for information, solutions, resolutions, you know what I mean? And I feel like being open to that. So I feel like from today moving forward, I definitely feel like this is going to be like August 15th and stuff. So they keep on saying like 3 weeks time, and I feel like that's where you're definitely going to see a big change there. The thing is, it's like when we start something, we're starting it and it takes 6 weeks to become a habit is what they're saying. That's what they're bringing up. They're like, it takes 6 weeks to make a habit. So if you're starting something here, you know what I mean? I feel like this is where it's just like we got to keep, like, it's going to be trial and error, but it's like once we find that secret sweet sauce, we find that what works, you know what I mean? Keep on invoking that. Keep on bringing that in. And then I feel like as things get better, it's like, I feel like some things will kind of fall to the wayside because we're in a good spot, but it's like, remember those remedies, remember those solutions, because like, hopefully this doesn't happen again, but it's just like getting into a better place. And I feel like that's where, things are going to, because as like, with us, Northern Hemisphere for New Brunswick, August 15th, things start to get cooler here. So it could still be hot during the day, but at least the nighttime doesn't get so hot where you can get that restful sleep. And that's the biggest thing. If there's heat waves and stuff like that and you're not able to get relief, it's just like, that's what they're saying here. It's just like, rest is very important. And sometimes there's, like they're saying, disruption. So like heat waves and such like that. So that's why they're saying like, that's a temporary situation. Find time to rest. Like, don't, like, I feel like very 10 of Wands. Don't take anything else on right now. Just learn how to rest, recuperate. Everybody's recuperating in this situation. So that's what I'm saying. Be kind to yourself, make most of the day, especially like, this, say like it happened yesterday. Making the most of that, just being like, okay, we're tired today, but you know what? We'll get through the day and we'll, get some rest, tonight. That's all we can do. To putting your best foot forward. That's all they're asking for. And you keep on putting your best foot forward. Your heart is in the right place. You know what I mean? Like they said, they're showing like the Queen of Wands. Like people definitely look up to you and look for you for answers. You know what I mean? And the biggest thing is making them feel safe. Like I said, invoking that Empress energy. Oh, that's the King of Wands, but here she is. Like they said, this is a rebirth if you're seen as this type of person that people turn to for information and answers. It's like there's a rebirth, so new skill here. You know what I mean? And it's like being open to that. So her eyes are closed, so meditations may be important, or like in your sleep, channel messages, channeled images, channeled dreams. Like this too will come to pass. You know what I mean? I know it feels heavy and scary sometimes, but you will overcome this. So I hope you enjoyed this quick card pull. May the universe bless you good. Have a great week.